What's up, Team Jazzy? It's your girl, Jazzy J, and I am back with another mukbang. So today's true crime is unfortunately about Lena Kiza, who was a beautiful, aspiring model, and she brutally lost her life in the comfort of her own home with her 2-year-old present. Now, time and time before this even happened, she reached out to the police saying that she had feared for her life, but they ignored her. I call all of my subscribers Team Jazzy, so if you would like to be a part of the team, all you have to do is subscribe to this channel and turn your post notifications on so that you never miss another video. Give this video a big thumbs up on the simple fact that I have some homemade vegan spaghetti. Y'all knew it was coming. Y'all knew it was coming. But this time it is the shiitake noodles. If y'all remember the fettuccine shiitake noodles that I did before, they were like chewy, but this time I got the spaghetti kind of noodle, and I actually fried it on high for 10 minutes without no oil. And now the texture is more like pasta than a more chewy type of texture. So I'm hoping that it turns out really yummy. I packed it with a lot of veggies and tomato puree. I also have some garlic bread and some salad and some fruit. So I'm gonna pray so I can eat. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for the food that I'm about to receive. I ask that it may nourishment to my body. I ask that you bless the hands that prepared it and bless my entire team, Jazzy. Amen. Okay. Yummy. Very good. Very good. This is so good. I thought I'd bring the hot sauce. So we're gonna jump right into the true crime. So Lena Kiza grew up very close to her brother Ivan. And they were brung up as a Christian family, and their father did a lot of outreach work for children in the Christian community as well. They had African roots, and when the big brother Ivan got older in 1998, he moved to UK, and then in 2007, 10 years later, he talked his little sister Lena into going. He loved his little sister. They had other brothers and sisters, but they were very close, and she always wanted to like follow in his footsteps. Hence the fact that she moved to where he was in 2007. But it wasn't long that she lived with him, but she was moving out. And she moved to England because she wanted to go back to school. She wanted to get her bachelor's degree to be a social worker. Her dream was to be a social worker in Rwanda. Yummy. While in school, she met a photographer who had just asked, like, can I take your pictures? You're so beautiful. She said yes. And because of that, she became very interested in being a model. She loved the camera, and so she took a big interest in it. And it worked out for her. She was studying at the University of Wolverhampton, and she also was interested in dance, so she joined a dance team. She kept herself very busy. She loved life, and that's what self-respect and self-love really is not letting nothing hold you back and doing the things that you truly love, even if you're by yourself. And she was just moving around, really enjoying her life. She joined a dance team, and that's where she met the love of her life, David. And this was in 2009. But I do have to mention that her big brother Ivan did not like him. He didn't like that she was in this relationship. She also was a contestant to be Miss Africa, but then all of a sudden she wanted to move. And big brother Ivan didn't like that. But, you know, he was trying to be respectful and respect her decisions as a grown woman. But he didn't want her to move. And he also confronted David on why he was taking her so far away. So she became pregnant and she hid it from her brother. She hid it for her brother for 8 months. She did not tell him until she was 8 months pregnant. So of course he's like, really? I'm your brother. Why would you hide that? And she was like, I'm pregnant. Please don't tell mommy. And he was like, oh, I'm telling. But I'm not keeping that from her. I'm going to tell her. So now he's like really upset because she's far away and she's pregnant. So after about a year of them dating, they decided to split up. And Lena got her own place. So her brother, Ivan, was like, I am her protector. I am her muscle. So he traveled down to visit her and to help her paint the walls of her new place. And her boyfriend, David, was there. He didn't like that because he's like, if y'all broke up, y'all live in two separate houses, why is he here helping you move? And she's like, well, we're together. We're just not going to live together. So they were just trying to make it work because they do have a baby together. So they was trying to make it work, and that's what they were trying to explain to the big brother. Well, on July 28th, 2013, she called the police 3 times. The very last time she called the police, she said, please help me. This man is outside my house, and I am so scared I can't breathe. Eventually, the police did come out, but by the time they got there, the man was gone. And they didn't really take notes. All they did was put that it was a standard risk. Then they broke up again, and so at this point, Ivan, he's like, why don't you just come stay with me again? Just come back to me. Come live with me. It's okay. She was like, nope, I don't want to. On July 31st, 2013, at 4 a.m., Lena's neighbor heard her screaming frantically. And he went to bang on the door. He couldn't get in. And she started screaming at the neighbor and said, kick the door in. Kick the door in. But he couldn't. He tried so hard. And by the time he broke into her house, she was laying in a pool of blood from multiple stab wounds. Of course, he calls the police, and by the time they get there, Lena had lost her life. So the police called her family the next day, and the same person that the police couldn't get a hold of is the same person that everybody is saying did it. And that is Lena's ex-boyfriend, David. Everybody pointed the finger at him and said it had just came out that he was very abusive to her financially, emotionally, and physically. And that's the reason why she called the police so many times. They did further investigation and they found out it was 26 hits out on David from Lena to the police. That's how many times she called him in a span of 2 years, and the police did nothing about it. Apparently, this has been going on since right after she found out she was pregnant. She did tell Ivan, and I think that's why Ivan was so like a helicopter for her, because he wanted to protect his little sister. And when he confronted David about putting his hands on her, this was back when she was pregnant, he denied it. And then moving forward, Lena stopped going into detail with her brother Ivan. So what do you do? What do you do as a brother? So for him to get this news that his sister had just got killed, he had to travel all the way to her home with such a broken heart, feeling helpless, wondering if there is something else he could have done, because he truly did try his best. In 2011 is when it basically all started. In March, he tried to strangle her, and she did call the police. And every time she called the police, he went for one night and then they would release him. In April, she called the police, and he had a knife in her mouth by the time the police got there. And they took him to jail, and then they released him the next day. One time they were at the club with friends, and they must have exchanged words. He got upset, and he threw her back into the car by her neck, though. And her friends were so scared for her that they called the police on him. When the police got there, he was over top of her with a knife. Took him to jail, and then they released him the next day. Her pleas were 100% falling on deaf ears. It's like they felt like they had bigger things to do, or they just didn't want to help at all. And David, the boyfriend, knew that. He realized that his consequence was so small for what he was doing, nobody was going to stop him. And he realized, like, oh, they're just going to take me to jail, and then I'm going to get out the next day. And so that's what fed him to continue to be abusive, even more abusive every single time, because everybody knows in domestic relations like that, it grows. It doesn't stop, and it can be confusing to the victim because they love the person, and the person who is the abuser knows how to cry very well. He knows how to show his love. And I don't mean to say him, because there is women that are abusers as well. But in this case, him, David, he was an abuser, and he knew how to bring her back in to make her feel like, okay. And narcissists are so believable that when you tell me I'm beautiful, I believe it. Just as much as when you tell me I look ugly, I believe it. And they take our intuition from us. And I don't even like, I need to change that. I don't even like to talk as if I am a victim. I am not a victim. I never want to be looked at as a victim, but I have experienced some type of abuse. And that is definitely that's their pattern, is when there isn't a consequence. Meaning you don't call the police, you don't do nothing about it, you don't leave, or the police doesn't do anything about it. That's what feeds them. And they're good for about a week or two. The next week, something snaps and makes them get even more abusive than what they got away with the last time. And then victims stay. Also, if there's children involved, and it depends on their childhood. For instance, a person that didn't grow up with mom and dad in the same household, a person that didn't grow up in the same household with mom and dad would typically take a blind eye to red flags of an abuser just so that their children can have mom and dad in the same household, not knowing that it's going to cause mental trauma on their own children, because energy doesn't lie. They can sense energy. They can sense when you have the wrong intentions. They can sense when y'all don't love each other. Y'all are unhappy, and you're basically creating a childhood that your child is going to have to recover from. And so that's why it's always best to put yourself first. Happy mommy, happy baby. Even if y'all separate, the child will be okay. The child will turn out way better than if you were to stay. Trust and believe that. I am a witness. But she ended up even going to visit her sister in Africa. And she had even told her sister what was going on. So her sister was like, I support you. I'm going to help you. Do what you have to do. I am here for you. And so 2013 of May, she told him, I don't want to do this. I'm done with you. Give me back my key and you have to leave. He said, okay. He left. But then he started to stalk her. And so she continued to call the police. She tried to file an injunction, but there is no record of that. So that just goes to show how nonchalant and careless the police were. So remember the night that she called the police and said she was so scared that she couldn't breathe. There was a man outside of her house. Well, it was because of him, but he didn't necessarily come inside. He just stood outside her house. Well, after she called the police, then they called him and was like, okay, you are not allowed over there until you call us. You have to call us. If you want to see your daughter, you have to call us. If you want to go over there and get anything, if you step foot into her house, you have to be with us. So a couple days later, he calls the police and he's like, I want to go inside and get some belongings. Well, the police officer that answered was like, I don't have another officer to go with you right now. So just go by yourself. It'll be fine. And that was the day that she lost her life. He got the okay to go there by the police. And when he went, he had plans on killing him, the baby girl, and Lena. But the knife got stuck in Lena's body. And he didn't have enough time to grab another knife to kill the baby and himself because the neighbor was knocking on the door. And so he fled. He tried to have his friend make a passport for him, but the friend refused to do that. And so he turned himself in. But even during trial, he was still arguing that Lena was such a bad person. He just like, he made her character sound so disgusting and dark. And she had innocently lost her life. It brought so much pain to her family to hear him say all this, knowing that she was trying to leave him for a long time because he was the abuser. He ended up getting life in prison, and before he is able to even apply for probation, he has to do at least 21 years. As far as the officers involved that didn't do anything about it, they got sat down for 5 years, but they didn't even get sat down until 3 years after her death. And so the family was they're not pleased with it. They wanted the officers to lose their job because if they just would have went by their own protocol, then Lena would still be here today. But instead, they chose not to do anything about it. And that's what caused this monster to feel like he was superior and he felt like he had no consequences. And still in court, he was like, he felt like him killing her was reasonable. So that's so sad. My heart goes out to the baby girl, but I am so grateful for the neighbor because he played a part in saving the little girl's life. My heart goes out to the brother and the rest of Lena's family. This case reminds me of Emma Walker and the Man in Black. If you haven't seen that, click right here to watch that true crime unfold, or click right here to subscribe to the channel so that you never miss another video. Post notification goes to... Shout out to you for having the best comment. I love you, Team Jazzy, and I will see you in the next mukbang.